guys, it's Simon. This is Wrestling Unlimited, as it's Friday, and that means we're here for the Wrestling Wrap-Up. A handful of news brought to you in one easy-to-watch video. We got a bunch to talk about today. Everything going down with Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon. Did Sasha Banks really get her release from WWE? The Rock brought another family member a house. Sheamus working with NASCAR, and so much more. Remember, if you are watching live, I want to say thank you for joining me here, twitch.tv/PW Unlimited. If you are watching or listening later, then thank you for watching, youtube.com/PW Unlimited, or listening on podcast services all around the globe, like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Anchor FM, Google Podcast, Apple Pod, and so much more. But again, if you are watching live, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can either help us out by hitting that donate button down below or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can support the channel by subscribing here on Twitch, one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, just like, let's see, New Jeffrey with a Prime subscription. Tier subscription, just like Cold Cuts KC recently did. Or you could be like New Jeffrey, like Wrestling Fan 09, like T Carney, and subscribe with Amazon Prime. Because you take that Amazon Prime account, you take that Twitch account, you link them together, bada bing, bada boom, you're Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you did so right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. But also, if you're a subscriber over on YouTube, you can help us out over there as well by hitting that join button. Hit the join button, and you can become a channel member. As a channel member, you get early access to news, early access to podcast episodes, early access to non-news videos, and so much more. Also, you can get all of that, but more directly support us and make it all easier to access by heading over to patreon.com/PW Unlimited. Also, finally, head over to the Epic Game Store. Whether you're buying a new game, buying an old game, claiming the free games, or looking for stuff for Fortnite, Rocket League, and Fall Guys, well, you're going to need to use our creator code because it helps us out. It's creator code PW Unlimited. You've seen that new Spider-Man skin in Fortnite? Ooh, boy, that shit's hot. You want to get the new skin? You want that new Spider-Man skin in Fortnite? Well, don't forget to go into the store and go to the very bottom in the Fortnite, and whether that's on your computer, your PlayStation, your Xbox, or your Nintendo Switch, and put in the code PW Unlimited. Again, the very bottom of the store page on Fortnite. It's going to ask you if you got a code, and you do, your creator code. It's right here. It's PW Unlimited. Whether you're just now getting into the battle pass for the new season, trying to get that new Spider-Man skin that looks really good. Of course, I got it because I had so many bits and whatnot, or V-Bucks already. But anyways, use the code. Again, use that code. Also, don't forget, Fall Guys is going free to play at the end of the month. And they're going to have a battle pass system there too that you may want to jump into. So when you do, use code PW Unlimited. But we've got a lot to talk about pertaining to, well, the big story of the day, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and the WWE. So really, for all of this, we've got to go back all the way to Wednesday and give you guys a little bit of a refresher on what exactly went down earlier this week. So Wednesday, I'm trying to remember exactly what time this was. I was watching that stream because I was watching the Kind of Funny stream. That's around 11. So it was roughly, 1 p.m. Pacific. Roughly 1 p.m. Pacific. The news broke per the Wall Street Journal, and for some reason, I apologize, I keep saying Washington Journal, I don't know why, from the Wall Street Journal, that Vince McMahon was being investigated by his own board of directors. And I go, whoa, what? For a $3 million hush money payment. And I go, wait, excuse me? So here's what we know of the initial story. The WWE, so actually, hold on, let me find this start here. According to a new report from the Wall Street Journal, They report that the WWE Board of Directors are investigating an alleged affair Vince McMahon had with a former employee. The report states that McMahon agreed to pay the employee $3 million to keep the affair a secret. The January 2022 separation agreement bars the now former employee, who was hired as a paralegal in 2019, from discussing the relationship with Mr. McMahon or disparaging him. The report notes that an investigation into these claims began way back in April. That also is when other non-disclosure agreements involving claims by former female employees of misconduct by Mr. McMahon and John Laurinaitis, WWE's head of talent relations, were unearthed. Yet, the report did not state how many older previous agreements are being scrutinized. They go on to state that as far as this $3 million payment, WWE and Vince McMahon lawyer Jerry McDevitt did note how he did not make any payments here regarding the claims, as far as like WWE did not make any of these payments. None of this money came from WWE, yet we're going to get into it. There is what's the word I'm looking for? There is a claim that you could say that WWE money was used in this act, though. The report noted that Mr. McMahon used personal funds and noted initially paid the former employee $1 million and agreed to make payments up to $2 million over the next 5 years. Board members reportedly learned of the $3 million agreement in a series of anonymous emails received, here's the thing, not by the person in question, but a friend of the former employee. The first emails were received on March 30th. Now here's the thing. That first email noted that the former employee, the woman in question, was making $100,000 a year for WWE, and after things became physical and sexual and into a relationship with Vince, he upped her pay to $200,000. So that right there is where the board can say, WWE, Vince McMahon using WWE funds in a non-trustworthy way. As far as, oh, you're my girl now, we're having, relations, I'll give you a pay increase. Did you do anything to deserve it? Probably not, but I don't care. And that right there, the board can look into and go, well, what facilitated her getting the raise? Why did she deserve the raise? Was it just because, oh, you're now with Vince in a way, so he's going to compensate you because of that? Yes, Vince didn't use any WWE money in a $3 million hush payment, but they can go back and say, well, Vince paid her an extra $100,000 on top of what she was making in her initial hiring because the two became intimate. Now, and give me 1 second. There's a car alarm going off outside. I got to make sure it's not mine. Okay, no, we're good. Yeah, we're good. Okay, sorry about that. So, the initial email did state that Mr. McMahon also, quote, gave her like a toy to Mr. Laurinaitis. She stated, quote, my friend was so scared, so she quit after Mr. McMahon and lawyer Jerry McDevitt, paid her millions of dollars to shut up. So that came out on Wednesday, and we heard some other things, but not really anything of note until this morning. And WWE put out a statement stating, quote, WWE and the board of directors today announced that a special committee of the board is conducting an investigation into alleged misconduct by its chairman and CEO, Vincent McMahon, and John Laurinaitis, head of talent relations, and that, effective immediately, Mr. McMahon has voluntarily stepped back from his responsibilities as CEO and chairman of the board until the conclusion, until the conclusion of the investigation. Now here's where things get interesting. Mr. McMahon will retain his role and responsibilities related to WWE creative content during this period and remains committed to cooperating with the review underway. Now, I want to make this very clear. If anyone's putting out names in my chat, my live chat, you're going to get timed out. And if you do it again, you're going to get banned. We're not speculating on who this is and what this is and, oh, I heard this or I heard that. No, we're not putting any of that because I'm not putting people's names out there, whether that is true or not, in my chat. just so you guys know. If you try to say, oh, I heard it was such and such, or the name of the person with the NDA that can't speak is so-and-so, you're getting timed out. And if you do it again, you will get a ban for the second offense. I'm just going to say that right now because that's not our business to say who this lady is. She wanted it kept secret. It's being kept secret. We're going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Adhere to that, I guess you could say. Be respectful to her wanting this kept secret and whatnot. But the statement by WWE then goes on to state, the special committee has appointed Stephanie McMahon to serve as interim CEO and interim chairwoman. Quote, Vince stated, quote, I have pledged my complete cooperation to the investigation by the special committee, and I will do everything possible to support the investigation. I have also pledged to accept the findings and outcome of the investigation, whatever they are. I love this company and am committed to working with the independent directors to strengthen our culture and our company. It is extremely important to me that we have a safe and collaborative workplace. I have committed to doing everything in my power to help the special committee complete its work, including marshaling the cooperation of the entire company to assist in the completion of the investigation and to implement its findings. So that's what Vince stated. Now, Stephanie made a comment on this morning that I'm going to pull up here. She tweeted out just a quick little comment, not much to it though. Stephanie did tweet out the following, stating, until the conclusion of the investigation into recent allegations, I am honored to assume the role of interim chairwoman and CEO. I love WWE and all it continues to do to entertain billions around the world. So Stephanie will be upholding the role of CEO and chairwoman in WWE. But I spoke to one person in WWE today, only one person. So take this how you want, because some people always say, never say anything until there's multiple people saying the same thing. But I was told that Stephanie being in this role kind of to some means nothing, because Vince has already kind of stepped out of this role to an extent already, leading to Nick Khan as the president of WWE to do more of the business stuff, and him and his people doing more of what Vince used to do. Vince still does a lot as chairman and CEO, so Stephanie will most likely still have a lot of stuff to do, but a lot of the main business stuff is under Nick Khan now, and that Stephanie taking up this role, to at least one person that I spoke with, is more of a, what's the word I'm looking for, at face value kind of thing, as far as like, oh, well, Vince is out, but we put Stephanie in there because, you know, people love her. So if they say Stephanie's now in that role, it looks good on the company. That's basically what I was told. Steph being in this role right now looks good. Looks good on the company. McMahon says, do you think Shane was in consideration? No, I don't think Shane was ever in consideration. I think it was always Steph. And we're going to read here from a Fightful report that many people thought Steph would eventually take this role up anyways. Now, some have asked, is Nick Khan involved in this investigation? And Dave Meltzer did write in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, while we all know by now that the investigation was reportedly started by WWE's board of directors, it's unclear the role that certain board members, such as Nick Khan, have played. According to Meltzer, 8 of the 12 members of the board began the investigation in April, after the board received emails from a friend of the employee who had been involved with Mr. McMahon and Laurinaitis. As had been previously reported, Mr. McMahon himself, daughter Stephanie, and son-in-law Paul Levesque recused themselves as part of the investigation, so they're not part of this investigation as far as Nick Khan does go. Meltzer stated that it was believed that the 4th member that was not actually active within the investigation was President Nick Khan himself. However, it is not 100% confirmed, but we do know that there are 12 members of the board, and 4 of them were not actively involved in the investigation. Of course, one is Vince. He can't be. Stephanie, Triple H, and again, believed to be Nick Khan. So it is believed that Nick Khan is not actively in the investigation as far as the board members do go. This goes on to state that the other members of the board are Steve Koonin, Ignance Lahoud, Eric Nerandi, Steve Pammon, Connor Schell, Jeffrey Speed, and Alex Wexler. All businessmen and women with ties largely situated outside of WWE, unlike Khan and McMahon. So basically, the ones upholding this investigation are people not directly tied to WWE's business. They're the people brought into the board to make sure that because this is a publicly traded company, they are doing things legally and to the point of what a publicly traded company should be. And that's what you do. When you become a publicly traded company, you start a board of directors. And you have people on this board of directors, doesn't mean all, but you have some that do not have, what's the word I'm looking for, extreme interests in the company as far as like a Nick Khan, who's the president, like a Stephanie McMahon, who's the chief brand officer, and all that kind of stuff. Vince, who's the CEO. You have people that go, okay, so if something happens here that is unethical like this, or that could hurt other investors, we're the ones that have to, I guess you could say, look into it and uphold the law here. And because they don't have any like, oh, how's this going to hurt WWE in the long term? They don't have any ties to that. That's why you have these kinds of people. And I know I'm not explaining that exactly properly, probably, but that's how it was explained to me. You have people on the board that are not directly tied to the day-to-day business. And so they don't also go, well, yeah, we could look into this, or yeah, this wasn't done right, but then it'll hurt this part of the business, and we don't want to do that. No, it's you're unbiased to the day-to-day. That's really the big thing. As far as more of this does go, we do have a couple things here from Alex Sherman of CNBC. But first off, we do have to say Vince will be on Smackdown tonight. Before I go into the rest of this, I have to say that first, because this ties into that. Vince McMahon will be on Smackdown tonight. Why? I don't know. I don't think it's smart. But according to Alex Sherman of CNBC, he says Vince McMahon will speak tonight on SmackDown, quote, in character as Mr. McMahon to address his temporary absence. Could be a big ratings night for WWE. McMahon has torn up the script for SmackDown, which was written last night, I'm told. That happens all the time. Vince tore up the script. Vince tore up the script. Oh, it's Friday and we don't know what's going to happen on SmackDown. That's nothing new. Sherman also tweeted out, I'm also told that elevating Stephanie to CEO after she just left to focus on family is an optics play to signal Vince has no intention of stepping down. And that's exactly kind of what I was trying to allude to earlier of Stephanie's in this role, but what does the role really mean with Stephanie in it? Is there change going to be made because Stephanie's now in the role and can make changes? Doubt it. I still think, yes, she's in the role as a figurehead, as a face right now. But Vince probably still has just as much power as he did, or to an extent. If he tells Stephanie, oh, don't do that, or let's do this, she's not going to tell her dad no. She's not going to go against what he would want. So that's the other thing. If she goes to make a decision, and Vince goes, let's hold off on that. She'll go, okay, most likely. I'm not saying that 100%, but most likely. Or if Vince says, hey, Steph, we need to do this, or I need, this. She'll go, okay. We also do have a report here from Fightful. I'm going to read, not verbatim, because that's what we should do, but I'm going to read a couple of snippets from their reporting. If this will load, why isn't it not load? Oh, is Patreon down again? Patreon was down yesterday as well. That's where I need to get this Fightful stuff from. Looks like Patreon might be down again. But the gist of it was a lot of people within the company think that Stephanie being put in place may be a good thing eventually. That everybody really likes Stephanie McMahon. Oh, here we go. We got it up now. So, Fightful wrote, in the hours that followed the initial report of Vince stepping down and Stephanie getting, put in place, Fightful spoke to well over a dozen employees, staff, and talent. and even former employees who have worked with the McMahons, both close and at a distance. Beyond Vince McMahon stepping down as CEO, he will remain in his creative duties and actually appear on SmackDown tonight in what CNBC calls an in-character appearance. One talent that Fightful spoke with said that they saw Vince McMahon appearing on screen as, quote, cheap ratings ploy in the middle of something serious. And don't expect much of the culture or presentation of WWE to change with McMahon still around in control of creative. Quote, as long as Vince McMahon still has his creative duties, nothing can change. What could possibly be different? If he asks something as of Stephanie as intern CEO, is she actually going to say no? Now, there are numerous sources across multiple departments in WWE who Fightful spoke with that they will continue to hire up and possibly Vince McMahon himself that appear on screen in character as not a good idea. Vince McMahon himself, one wrestler feared, would attempt to turn this into a Vince versus the world narrative as he did with the steroid trial. One top star noted to Fightful that they didn't really know what was going on, but they've, quote, heard in theory, Stephanie is my boss, and that fucking rules. One former employee that worked directly with Stephanie McMahon before her team was dismantled said, quote, the tone was always that she would be in the role eventually. She knows and breathes the business, and she's seamless. They also noted the narrative around friction between Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon wasn't something they'd personally experienced. Now, there have been rumors that Nick Khan and Stephanie didn't get together and this and that, and I've never heard that. I mean, before Nick was within WWE and hired by the company as the president, they were all friends. Triple H, Stephanie, and Nick Khan. Now, one thing that could happen here, who Stephanie doesn't like, who is an executive within the company, is, well, why did my mind just blank? I just had a brain fart. I just had the biggest brain fart in the world. Oh my God. My brain just shut off. I literally can't think at the moment. Where am I? Okay, here we go. Stephanie McMahon does not get along well with Kevin Dunn. I don't know why I couldn't think of that name. Like, literally, my mind just went shut off. That's very weird. Yes, Kevin Dunn. And we have heard for a while that if Stephanie and Triple H ever fully take over this company, Kevin Dunn could be out. Because they don't like Kevin Dunn. But Vince keeps him around because Kevin Dunn's just been around forever. And Vince is loyal to people that have been loyal to him, is always been the narrative. But as far as more of this Fightful report does go, it says one female talent said that they think things can only get better from this point, and was hopeful that both the investigation and Stephanie McMahon as interim CEO would lead to better treatment for women in the company across the board. The talent went as far as to say that they hope it results in women getting treated and paid equal to the men there. Quote, I imagine it won't change much, but I love Steph, so that's good. I imagine Vince keeping his position in creative, and once the investigation is over, he'll take back over if he can. Exactly. So most people think that this is a good thing, maybe a little bit for now. But if nothing comes out of this investigation and it's seen that Vince didn't do anything wrong company-wise, maybe he did something wrong ethically and shouldn't have engaged in this kind of thing and shouldn't have paid her hush money. Yeah, that's not right. But if he didn't do anything company-wise wrong, Vince's going to give his spot back. Vince most likely going to get his spot back. Especially since this was, as they quoted, Vince voluntarily stepping down for now, stepping aside. That's the other word to look at. They did not state that Vince is stepping down, but that Vince is stepping aside. Finally, the report does go on to state that a message was sent to WWE staff this morning, Friday, from Stephanie McMahon stating, quote, I will be returning from my leave of absence and assuming the role of interim chairwoman and CEO. I love our company and I'm excited to continue to work with our president and chief revenue officer, Nick Khan, and Chief Financial and Administrative Officer Frank Riddick. And of course, I look forward to working with all of you. My door is always open. Now, the other question that we have to ask here. We know Nick Khan don't go to TV every week. We know Stephanie is not at TV every week and stuff like that. Is she going to be there tonight? Is Nick Khan going to, who is going to be and who is not going to be at SmackDown tonight? That's one of the big questions. And how often is Steph now going to be at SmackDown? She says, my door is always open. What does that mean, though? Does that mean, oh, if you need to talk to me, you can call me or fly to Stanford? Or does that mean I'm going to be at Raw? I'm going to be at SmackDown. I'm going to have my office there now. And I'm going to be there to speak with people that need to speak with me. What does that really mean? Because again, Vince is still in charge of creative. So if someone in the executive ranks goes, I think we should do this on the show tonight, or maybe not say that, Mr. McMahon. He goes, hey, that's my show. I'm going to run it how I want. I can say what I want. You didn't take me out of my creative role. You know what I mean? Vince still got 100% say on creative. And the other thing that people have been asking, can't the board just push Vince out? If the investigation proves that he did something wrong ethically within WWE and WWE funds, possibly. But as of right now, no, because technically Vince McMahon has 80% of the voting power within WWE and the board of directors. 80% of the votes are Vince's vote. So he knew what he was doing, putting himself in a good spot there. Not saying, all right, you and you and you and you can all come in and invest and become, big members of the board and have voting power. No, he's got 80%. So it's basically still what he says go. Now, because they're a publicly traded company, and it is found in the investigation that he maybe did something unethically with WWE money that could have impacted the stock and could have impacted investors and their money that they invested in the company, this and that, then yes, maybe they could come to a thing of, no, you were wrong, you did this wrong, and legally we can now push you out. But as of right now, no. None of that. None of that. Mr. Banks says, it's confusing. You would think if the relationship is mutual, why does Vince pay the person? Vince pays the person because he didn't want... So, Vince engaged with an employee sexually. Also, quote unquote, and I hate saying this, but this is how it was stated, shared her with John Laurinaitis. So, you pay her so that way when she leaves the company, she can't talk about the relationship. Because how do I explain this? You don't want it out there that Vince was having a relationship with somebody in his company and he paid her more because of it, possibly, in the way that it's stated. It's just a lot of facts that they wouldn't have wanted out and misconstrued that got out anyways. Just because she didn't say anything publicly, a friend did. And now we don't know if that also could, and I don't want to make any baseless claims, impact her NDA of her telling her friend what happened and her friend having all the information coming forward with it. McMahon says it's because he didn't want Linda to find out. Here's the thing. Word is that Vince and Linda, and I'm not going to get into their relationship because that's not my business. Vince and Linda haven't been like a thing for a long time. They've been married, quote unquote, public perception. That they've been separated and not, quote, together for a while. And also, we don't know what their relationship status was as far as open relationship. Were they ever, or could they have ever been in an open relationship where if one wanted to, we're married, but I want to engage in sexual acts with this person, or I want to start a relationship with this person. You cool with that? We're cool with that? Okay. Honestly, I know people personally in open relationships that go, yeah, I'm married to him, but I'm also allowed to go have sex with anybody I want. And he doesn't get mad, and I allow him to do the same, and I'm not going to get mad. Because we know at the end of the day, we're coming home to each other. That's how a lot of open relationships are. And again, I know one, like personally, very close friends that are in an open relationship like that of, I know who I'm coming home to at the end of the night or eventually. My husband goes out there and has sex with a woman or two. I don't care. I'll go out there and have sex with a man or two. He don't care. We know who we love. And we're just doing, this is literally what they told me one time. We go and have sex with other people for fun. But we know who we love and are in love with. But we don't know what Vince and Linda's relationship status is and what kind of relationship they have. And it's not my business to dig deep into and find out what that is. But as of right now, all we know is Vince is being investigated. Stephanie is the new CEO, interim CEO and chairwoman of the board. And the other thing to look at, the big thing to look at, outside of what the fuck is Vince going to say on TV tonight, he stepped aside. They didn't stay, he stepped down. He stepped aside. Aside. Well, that's the big word to look at. Aside, not down. But now we sit and we wait and we see what happens on SmackDown. Is Vince in the ring in front of the crowd on the stage, or is this something backstage where they can, because who knows how this crowd's going to react when Vince comes out, if Vince comes out, because there's two ways they can do this. Vince comes out, he stands on the stage or gets into the ring and speaks in front of the live crowd and says what he's going to say, or stays backstage, he's in his office or whatever room they put him in, and it's either live or pre-taped, doesn't matter if it's backstage, and they turn the crowd down, there's no crowd noise. That's going to be one of the big things to see. How is this presented? How is Vince on the show tonight presented? Especially if it's, quote, still in character. Still in character. That's the big thing to look at. Very, very interesting how all this goes down. And again, I've had other people go, so how long till the investigation's over and we know the finding? We don't know. We don't know at all. Nobody knows how long the investigation could last for. That is everything we know on the Vince McMahon situation right now. Not much more to talk about. So let's move on. But before we do move on, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video. The sponsor of today's video is, 366. 366 is a fast-growing athletic apparel company that focuses on performance apparel for any occasion. They specialize in golf, workout, and casual leisure apparel for both men and women. Customers can choose from multiple styles, colors, and sizes for every from everything from performance jackets to an innovative athletic polo shirt. With over 40 different products available, 366 adds new products every month. Adds every month. If you use our link in the chat or the description below, you won't be just supporting them. You'll be supporting us right here at Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and you will get 10% off of your purchase and free shipping. And use our link in the description or the chat below. I did that wrong in the chat. And you will get 10% off your purchase and free shipping when you make a purchase at 360 with 366. So as we move forward, got a little more news to talk about here. Getting to, Sasha Banks. I want to pull up the first initial tweet that came out on the Sasha Banks story from Raj Giri. Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc., that is. Raj Giri tweeted out, Let's see. Now I cannot find that initial tweet. Where is it? Oh, come on. Actually, I could just pull it up a different way. Raj Giri initially tweeted, I'm hearing Sasha Banks has been released. I don't know if she requested it or if it was on WWE's end. So here's what we've learned since from different reports and things. The WWE and Sasha Banks' lawyers were potentially working on a release for Banks. Now, with Geary hearing that Sasha may have gotten that release, and then that leads to one believing that maybe that a release has been agreed upon, but the terms of the release may not have been agreed upon. Hence why WWE nor Sasha Banks' side have come forward to say anything. That's what this could be. And that's what it is believed. That Sasha's side got the release, that Banks' lawyers asked for a release and got it, but the terms of the release, how long before she can really talk about certain things, how long before she can work for another company, what she is or isn't allowed to do here and there, that's what's going to possibly take longer before they make an announcement. It's similar to when Brock Lesnar wanted to leave in 2004 and got his early release. Brock told the company, I want to leave. I'm done after WrestleMania 20. I want to go try my hand at the NFL. They said, okay, but you can't do anything in wrestling till your initial contract is actually up, which there was like 7 more years on Brock's contract or something like that. There's like 6 or 7 more years on Brock's initial contract. And they told Brock, you can get your release, but you can't do anything in wrestling. And I think it was anything in any kind of combat sport. So that wouldn't have allowed Brock to actually do MMA. But that was within the United States. Brock went and tried to do football. It didn't work. He didn't make it past preseason. Brock all of a sudden shows up in New Japan, and WWE was like, whoa, that's a breach of our agreement of your release. But then it was really revealed that no, it was Brock couldn't do anything in the United States. Brock was working for New Japan in Japan. But then eventually Brock took them to court, and the judge basically said, you want this man to not be able to work in the profession that he can make the most money in for his family for the next 7 years? What do you want him to go do? And so, in turn, the release got overturned as far as it was just a straight up release after that. And there we go. So maybe the thing is that they agreed to give Sasha the release, and that's what Raj had heard, and that they haven't come on to terms on all the release terms as far as what the release actually means for Banks and what she can do moving forward. That's the thing. That's the thing. They could make a statement eventually saying Sasha Banks has been released by WWE. She is no longer with the company. Right. They could. But again, the big question is, and the big thing that many people are under the belief of is they agreed on the release. And I know I'm repeating myself now, but they haven't fully agreed on the terms. And you don't make a statement until you have fully agreed on all terms. So that, I believe, is what we're waiting on. And what they're waiting on to make an announcement. But as we move forward, pull up our next story here in keeping with WWE. And somebody I could say, you can say, used to be close with, I guess, Sasha Banks, part of Team Bad. Talk about Tamina and what The Rock actually did for her. Rock proving that he's the real head of the family, or head of the table, not Roman Reigns. Ain't Roman Reigns buying people houses, but The Rock did buy Tamina a house. Yeah, you heard me right. The Rock bought Tamina a house. I'm going to pull this up. We're going to play the video in the background. I'm going to read what The Rock actually wrote. Hard to explain these emotions for all of us as I led Sarana Snuka, WWE, through her new door. This one felt good. Surprise, cuz. Enjoy your new home. I know my cousin, Sarona. I've known my cousin Sarona since we were little kids growing up together. Man, this girl's gone through some tough times, but regardless of what life's thrown her way, she's always determined to break the cycle and become a strong and inspiring single mom example to her 2 greatest inspirations, her daughters, Milanenta and Melita. I hope I said those right. It's so damn hard to become a pro wrestler, and it's even harder to make it if you're a woman. Corona, like many amazing women in pro wrestling, made her mind up long ago that she was going to walk the walk and earn her respect in pro wrestling, and make sure that the hard times she's experienced were always her reason to work harder and never let it become her excuse to give up. And that's what she did. And that's why my heart's proud. Love you, cuz. And we always got your back. Welcome home. and we, welcome home, and we breaking out the Terramana baby. A very special thanks to Bianca Aubrey and her company Beyond Estates for helping me create this magical moment. You're the best. So with that, The Rock did buy Tamina, or I always butcher her name, Siriona, brand new home, showing that he's the real true tribal chief, the real head of the table. Roman always says on TV, and I know I'm making jokes of this now. Roman always says on TV, I do what I do to make sure my family has what they have. Well, Roman ain't buying anybody houses. Rock just bought his mom a brand new house. Now he bought Tamina a brand new house. Always great to see. Always, always, always such an awesome thing to see when family can take care of family and help family out. When we don't know what her situation was and why she needed the house. Maybe he just felt like, hey, she's got a good house now, but let's do something even better for her. And that just shows that The Rock will always do for family. As we move forward here, got a little quick hit. Want to talk about this because you guys know I'm a big old NASCAR fan. Well, Sheamus is going to be the honorary starter for not this weekend, but next weekend's race in Nashville, Tennessee, where Sheamus actually lives. It was first reported by the Tennessean, as they stated, quote, WWE superstar Sheamus will serve as the honorary starter for the second annual Ally 400 NASCAR Cup Series race at Nashville Speedway on June 26th. Sheamus is a Dublin, Ireland native who lives in Nashville. He's a former WWE champion, U.S. champion, and tag team champion. The 6'4", 270-pound wrestler who first appeared on WWE's main roster in 2009 will wave the green flag to start the race. Start the race on NASCAR's biggest concrete track. So basically what honorary starter means, because there's a couple different things. You hear, well, Lacey Evans was the Grand Marshal, but he's the honorary starter. What's the difference? Grand Marshal. So the Grand Marshal of a race means that you're the one that says, gentlemen, start your engines. Or in NASCAR's case, they say drivers, because there are females in NASCAR. They say, drivers, start your engines. Honorary starter means that you're up there on the flag stand, and when the race goes green for the first time, you're waving the green flag, which is what Sasha Banks did in the 2021 Daytona 500. And you also, so there's multiple things you can do, and WWE superstars have done all these things in NASCAR. You can be like Big E and The Undertaker and be the honorary pace car driver for the start of the race. You can be the Grand Marshal that says driver starts your engines, or you can be the honorary starter that waves the initial green flag at the start of the race. And that's what Sheamus will be doing. He'll be high above the track in the flag stand, waving that green flag as they come around turn 4 and take the green flag to start the Ally 400. Not this weekend, but next weekend in Nashville. This weekend is the one and only off weekend of the NASCAR Cup schedule this year, which is crazy to think that they've only got one off weekend this year, which is unprecedented. First time in forever they've had no more than one off weekend. They always get I think there's usually 4 or 5 off weekends throughout a season, but they wanted the season to end just a little earlier this year. So they said, you know what? One off weekend. We'll just do it between the broadcast split because Fox's 15 race, 16 race if you count the preseason, and Fox got 17 races if you count the preseason and the All-Star race, and then their half of the season is over. Technically, we're right there in the middle. Boom, NBC's taking over. So that's when NASCAR said we're going to do our break right when the broadcast companies, switch things over and go from there. Sheamus will be the honorary starter next week. Another quick hit we got to talk about is a big match for WWE's return, or actually, should I say, the Raw return to Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden did reveal that we'll be getting a big match in terms of Seth freaking Rollins and Riddle on July 25th. Yes, it is being reported that the Monday Night Raw taking place on July 25th will see Seth Rollins against Riddle. Now, here's the thing to note. We don't know if that's going to be on the actual Raw program or if that is just going to be for the live crowd, the dark match that they get. I'm going to pull this up right here for you guys to see. This does state WWE Monday Night Raw returns to the Garden for the first time in nearly 3 years. Riddle versus Seth freaking Rollins. For Friday Night SmackDown, undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns and SmackDown Women's Champion Ronda Rousey. Plus, more of your favorite Raw superstars, including Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Bobby Lashley, The Street Profits, AJ Styles, Theory, and many more. Card is subject to change. So that is one big match being announced for Madison Square Garden. And I do apologize that did actually was cut off on the screen, I think. The reason it doesn't look right. Well, we fixed it. Cool. But, and now you guys are seeing what you shouldn't be seeing. The back end of Twitch. Anyways. So that's cool that we could be seeing Riddle versus Seth Rollins on the actual, what's the word I'm looking for? Riddle versus Seth Rollins on Raw in a couple of weeks. Well, actually, would that be the go home for SummerSlam? That would be the SummerSlam go home show, which is very interesting. But I do believe that this is probably just going to be the dark match for that show. But speaking of SummerSlam and the final story we got to talk about today, what's going to happen if, well, Randy Orton can't make SummerSlam? News came out yesterday that Randy Orton could miss the remainder of 2022. Randy Orton is dealing with a back injury that could force him into having surgery. And well, now with reports of Roman Reigns being challenged by Randy Orton at SummerSlam, what happens now if it is not Randy Orton? Now, according to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer did report that WWE does have a backup plan just in case Randy Orton cannot wrestle by SummerSlam. Yet, Meltzer did note that it is unclear who that name could be, and some names have been tossed around like Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and even the new Intercontinental Champion, Gunther. But as of this writing, again, it is unknown who that backup plan is, or if they actually do really have a backup plan and they're just saying they do, and multiple names have been pitched. And I think it's the latter. That, hey, so if it's not Roman and Randy, maybe we do Roman and Riddle, or Roman and Seth, Roman and Lashley, Roman and Gunther. I hope they don't do Gunther and then do like a title for title thing again and then put the Intercontinental Championship on Roman and then Roman's got the WWE Universal and Intercontinental titles. That would be weird. But WWE apparently has a backup plan, and we'll see exactly what that backup plan actually entails. But with that, guys, that is going to wrap up the wrap-up. Before we do wrap everything up, though, one last thing. SmackDown tonight. What is announced for tonight's SmackDown? As I always do, I got a list here, but I want to double check and see if WWE has announced anything in the last 45 minutes since we've been live. And so we know of 4 things. 4 things. Vince McMahon will be appearing on the show. That we know. Max Dupree, and this is an interesting one because this was supposed to happen last week and it didn't. But last week, WWE didn't have this on their preview on their website. This week, it is on the preview. Max Dupree will reveal his first client in the Maximum male models. As far as action is concerned, we do know that we'll be getting a last laugh match as Madcap Moss takes on Happy Corbin. And finally, the WWE, the undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship will be on the line tonight when Riddle challenges Roman Reigns. So with that, these 4 things are the only 4 things that have so far been announced for tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. But with that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining me here. Twitch.tv/PW Unlimited. If you were watching live, if you're watching later or listening later, then thank you for joining us on youtube.com/PW1, youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, or listening on podcast services all around the world like Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, and so much more. It's Friday, so that means we'll be back tonight for Friday Night SmackDown. A very interesting show because they've got the world title match, which we all know Roman's going to win. But Vince, what is Vince going to say? We'll break it all down tonight following SmackDown. And I do want to let you guys know, so Wednesday I was having internet issues. Couldn't go live because literally I couldn't connect. Like my upload speed was that bad. If that ever happens again, I will still do a review. So I should have done this Wednesday. If I ever have an issue where it's like I can't go live, can't do the live show, I will still do the show pre-recorded, and then it'll just go up on YouTube like normal and podcast services for the audio. So I will promise you guys that from now on. I won't just go, oh, I can't go live, I'm not going to do it. No, from now on, if for some reason my internet is down and I can't go live, because I'm still pissed off at Comcast that I called them. I was on hold. Like, I called them. Talked to a guy for 15 minutes. He had no clue what he was talking about, so I asked to speak to a supervisor. Sat on hold for another 40 minutes until he hung up on me. But if I ever have those issues again, I will just pre-record the podcast. We won't have a live aspect to it, and it'll just go up on YouTube as normal. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your Friday. If I don't see you tonight for Smackdown, have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, guys.